outpouring of support from CARICOM to St Vincent and the Grenadines after volcanic eruption. Welcome to this week's episode of the CARICOM News Time. I'm Tosanki English Francis. Thank you for joining us. Thousands of residents in St Vincent and the Grenadines evacuated areas surrounding the La Soufriere Volcano after it erupted early Friday, April 9th, less than 24 hours after they were warned of an imminent eruption. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves made a disaster alert on Thursday, April 8th, prompting the evacuation of close to 20,000 residents from the red and orange zones of the volcano.
Earlier this afternoon, at 1 o'clock, I issued a disaster alert declaration. I received a communication from Professor Robertson of the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies based in Trinidad and Tobago, but who is located temporarily now with his team in St Vincent. And Professor Robertson indicated to me that matters have deteriorated further at La Soufriere.
Evacuees are in shelters and homes of ordinary residents in the country, while others will be housed in neighboring CARICOM member states.
The way in which people in St Vincent and the Grenadines and in ordinary people and in Grenada and in Dominica, St Lucia, and Antigua have responded to put people in their homes, strangers, bring tears to my eyes. I love this Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean has deployed 3 cruise ships to support the transporting of people from St Vincent and the Grenadines to safety in Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St Lucia, and St Kitts and Nevis. Member states have announced that they are mobilizing relief supplies and financial assistance to St Vincent and the Grenadines and the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency's Special Emergency Assistance Fund. Chair of CARICOM, Prime Minister Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago, announced that CDEMA had activated its regional emergency support operation. During a media briefing on Friday, April 9th, Acting Executive Director of CDEMA, Ms. Elizabeth Riley, explained the work involved in the regional response to the disaster.
As you know, the work of the coordinating unit is very heavily guided by the science. And as such, throughout this event, we have depended very heavily on our colleagues at the Seismic Research Center of the University of the West Indies. And we want to recognize the sterling contribution and the robust advice that they have provided to the government of St Vincent and the Grenadines throughout this event. As you know, we play a supporting role and we directly provide assistance to the national disaster offices and once activated through the emergency operations centers. In addition, we have provided a range of technical support to the National Disaster Office as per their requests. And this has included planning support in the areas of evacuation and logistics. We supported in the strengthening of the volcano hazard emergency annex to the National Disaster Plan, looking at detailing standard operating procedures for a number of the functions to be executed under that plan.
Countries including Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago have deployed troops to support humanitarian, technical, and peacekeeping efforts of the regional security system, and St Vincent and the Grenadines Disaster Emergency Management Organization. The Caribbean Development Bank on Sunday said that it is coordinating a multi-tiered response to support St Vincent and the Grenadines through the short to long term.
I want us in the region to use natural disasters like these to strengthen the bonds of regionalism. It's not that we are not taking care of our own. Clearly we are doing that. But it brings home that we are one Caribbean family.
My heartfelt sympathies for the people in St. Vincent. We continue to pray for you. And I have to leave on a note that in the conversation with Prime Minister Gonzalez, how incredibly touched and strengthened he was by the response by St. Lucians, Grenadines, Grenadines, Dominicans, Catitians, Antiguans. All of the OECS countries have reached out, both publicly and privately, to both him and to many of the people in St. Vincent. And at a time like this, that's what you need. And certainly the team that we met with this morning, the premise that we set for ourselves is that how would we want somebody else to treat us if we were the ones who had the volcano or a crisis, and we were the ones being disrupted, and this level of uncertainty and fear was being placed on us? How would we want to be accommodated by our brothers and sisters? And so as difficult as the times are for us in St. Lucia, they pale in comparison to what our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent are going through. So we continue to be there with St. Vincent. I reassured the Prime Minister of the full support of the government as well as the people of St. Lucia.
Prime Minister Gonzalez appealed for calm as the volcano continued erupting, spewing thousands of meters of ash into the atmosphere, covering most of the island.
Oh, we come to this morning around 4 o'clock, another one of them happened. And this particular one was probably one of the bigger ones. I wouldn't say the biggest one because we still, we might see a bigger one or might see a smaller one. Don't like to say the biggest because it all is changing. It's really relative. But it punched a lot of things up in the air. And from what we can see, because it's in the night now, so we could look at the observatory and we could see what's happening. It wasn't perfect conditions. But in the night when these things happen, when material goes up in the air, even though in the day it looks like white powder or so, in the night it's what we call incandescent. It glows. So we can see where things are going from the glow. And in this case, we saw pyroclastic flows, pyroclastic density currents, going down quite a few valleys around the volcano. And from what we could see, they reached a little bit further down valley than we had seen. I would not be surprised, for example, if when we go and check this morning, that the one that went down Laracay, for example, probably went as far as the coastline. Now, these pyroclastic density currents are the most dangerous things that can happen from volcanoes like ours.
Varying intensities of volcanic ash reached Barbados, St. Lucia, and Grenada. Authorities in Barbados announced the closure of Grantley Adams International Airport over the weekend, and the Barbados Supreme Court until further notice. Reduced visibility and ash dumped on airport runways caused Liat and Caribbean Airlines to cancel flights to Barbados, Dominica, Guyana, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines over the last weekend. For more stories, you can visit the CARICOM news site at today.caricom.org or the CARICOM website at caricom.org. Like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Be safe and see you next time.